Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing well. Now that we got a nice rally, I'm going to do an update on the markets as I see them right now. Bitcoin has gotten up to some levels that I was interested in quite a while ago, back in February, and I believe actually even in 2022, we've kind of played out what I was thinking as far as dropping down to the 200-week SMA and then rallying up to the 618 fib level. So this happened actually before the capitulation to 15.5 thousand, which I also actually, believe it or not, was able to sniff that level out via some fancy Fibonacci work. So this was 4 months before the bottom. Using a Fibonacci, I pinpointed 15.5K for a potential bottom, and turns out that was the bottom. So after that happened, I was eyeing pretty much the level that we're at now, believe it or not. People didn't think it was going to be easy, clearly. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious to me in the charts, if you do a little technical analysis. I'm happy to share this with people, and I have a Discord channel now, the Ski Bum Trading Discord channel. So if you're interested in that and my methodologies and just interacting with me and learning, the link to that is in my bio, actually. So whoops. So yeah, you can find that if you want to learn more on that. Right here, you go to the Patreon. And so if you do want to learn some technical analysis from me, the Ski Bum Trading Patreon links over to the Discord, where if you're really interested in learning the TA, you'll want to join the Black Diamond tier that includes all the price talk and technical analysis. So anyway, we go back to, let's go take a look at the charts. So Bitcoin has rallied up now to this level that I was looking at. It was pretty clear, if you know how to use the Fibonacci tool, that we would do something like this. So at the moment, I would not, if you were sitting out of the markets, and this is my humble opinion, not financial advice, but it's very risky to buy here right now. Like, this was the time to buy. When FTX was collapsing, and Terra and Silicon Valley Bank and all that stuff, this was the area, that was the fear zone, right? So you want to buy fear, you want to sell euphoria. I'm not sure we're quite in euphoria here, but things to me here are looking like they are here. I do not necessarily think that we have a big pullback here. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. But I think that there may be some sort of scare that does happen here because of the similarities to this, or at the very least sideways. I don't, markets do like to surprise people, so you also have to consider that it just blasts through here. And Q1 and Q2 can be bullish quarters. So going into next year, 2024, hey, we could just keep pumping through. Then you have the halving, and so you just gotta be prepared. It's really hard right now if you're sidelined, just because this is not a fear zone. Or yeah, this is not fear. Fear was down here. This is more like hope, or getting towards a little bit of a euphoric time, just because this has been such a intense pump. So yeah, consider that. And then let's take a look at Caspa. Caspa is pretty interesting. If you look at the fractals here compared to Ethereum and Cardano. So yeah, Ethereum and Cardano had a bit of a, Ethereum actually kind of blasted through. Cardano had a bit of a sideways action in here on this full extension on the fib level. And what's interesting about this, Caspa is actually outperforming both of them when you consider the context of where Bitcoin was during, like if you take a look at Bitcoin, what Bitcoin was doing in here in this past market cycle, Bitcoin was already hitting new highs. I believe it was already at like 40,000. So Bitcoin was already up here. Like this is where those fractals are correlated with in the current, levels where Caspa is at. So Bitcoin was already up here. It was breaking out above its all-time high. And you can look that up easily. Just take a look at, for example, Cardano. Let's do that real quick, just so you can see what I mean. Cardano, right? So those fractals pretty much show. You can look at this pretty easily, flip between them. Cardano did a sideways thing here. This was February 2021 when it broke out. What was Bitcoin doing in February 2021? Bitcoin was like pretty much setting its peak, right? So, and Cardano was right here. So currently, Bitcoin is not even near a peak, and Caspa is already in this accumulation zone. So here's Cardano in this accumulation zone. Here's this accumulation zone. This is January, February 2021. And then come back here, January, February 2021. Bitcoin is all the way up here, setting new highs, almost pretty much putting in its peak, right? So for Caspa, to me, that's bullish as hell, right? Because Caspa is already up here and Bitcoin is, it's not even putting in new highs. And you might say to yourself, oh, well, like supply is different. How can you compare it? Blah, 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 blah. Well, Cardano, if you didn't know this, had 32 billion coins in circulation around its peak. And so you can actually kind of compare the prices. Caspa won't ever have 32 billion. It'll have 28.7 billion max. So it has less coins than Cardano ever will have. So at this price, 36 cents, it's comparable. You could still kind of compare it in a way, but the market cap is also something to consider. And the peak market cap for Cardano was around 100 billion. It was like 90 billion. So these prices, 316 for Cardano. If Caspa had the same influx of capital, that market cap, which I think the fundamentals justify it, the prices would actually be more like $4, believe it or not. So a similar move for Caspa would actually, it could actually get to these levels as long as the capital goes into it. And I think the fundamentals actually do justify a top 10 market cap. And when everything's putting in new highs, all those valuations are going to be way higher. Just there's going to be way more money. At some point, the Fed is going to print money also. So just these things all just ratchet up. And then also interesting, this early Bitcoin chart had an ascending channel. This is back in 2010, 2011. Had this ascending channel, which if you go back and look at most assets, most things have not had this explosive growth, kind of like a Metcalf adoption type of situation. Caspa has it. It has this ascending channel here. So yeah, I mean, breaking out of this roof potentially if Caspa did that, right? If it broke above here, you start getting into those prices we're talking about, $3-4, potentially $5, depending on how much, capital is flowing into it at the time. And you can see here this midline having a little bit of a sideways action. Bitcoin had a little bit of a sideways action here, not for quite as long. But the market cap of Bitcoin actually here was, I believe, lower than it is here. But it was also a lot harder to buy Bitcoin back then. It's way easier to buy crypto nowadays, and way more attention on it. This was such a niche thing back then that was totally a lot of question marks about Bitcoin. Think about it, back in 2010, 2011. So yeah, the fact that Caspa is having this sort of growth at this market cap, with all the options that are available, like people are distracted by so many things. There's so many things out there that could suck money, and yet Caspa is still having this massive growth. So just pointing that out, that even though, yes, Bitcoin, I believe, did have a smaller market cap here, Caspa's doing extremely well considering the current environment where there's so many options out there that people could be buying. And if you understand what Caspa is, proof of work running at 1 block per second, fair launch, it's basically a truer peer-to-peer electronic cash. A lot of Bitcoin maxis nowadays will just kind of forget about the white paper, Bitcoin white paper, and pretend it doesn't exist and call it a store of value and try to make an argument as far as Bitcoin was meant to be a store of value, when in reality it was meant to be peer-to-peer electronic cash, and it's way too slow for that without L2s, which just compromise the decentralization and cause bottlenecks and all that sort of problems that are associated with Lightning Network and L2s that are on top of it. Caspa can also have L2s, that are specific to governments or, special purpose layers on top of it for governments or companies or whatever. So it's just a really fast settlement layer on the base layer, and also for L2s, everything can be settled really quickly. You have the bar tab analogy, for example, like what an L2 is. Imagine you like what the Lightning Network is to Bitcoin. You imagine you go to a bar and you open a tab for the night, and at the end of the night you settle your tab. But while you're getting your drinks throughout the night, you're not paying anything. You're just you could potentially walk away. You could not pay anything. You could never settle up, right? So that's basically what an L2 is. It involves trust, which is the whole antithesis of what Bitcoin is, right? It's supposed to be a trustless network, right? And having an L2 introduces trust. You need to make sure that someone who's has an L2 doesn't pull any tricks on you, right? It's removed from the base layer, and ultimately you have to settle up at the end of the night with the bartender. Just like you have to, anything that you do on an L2, you have to settle up on the base chain, right? And so they can batch transactions and all that stuff to kind of lower fees, and that's probably the idea in a lot of L2s. So anyway, Caspa removes all that stuff. It's scalable on the base layer, and when smart contracts roll out, then you'll be able to have stable coins on there, and you won't have to worry about the volatility of Caspa for payments. So a lot of good things going for it. 10 blocks per second is coming too. A lot of you who follow me will be well aware of this stuff, and if you've been following the Caspa space for a while. So yeah, a lot of good things coming, and I'll leave it at that as far as fundamentals, but we can go back to a little technical analysis. And for those of you who aren't in the US, you do want to pay attention to the US stock market. So I'm going to talk about that for a minute, just because it's going to affect your portfolio, your crypto, just because the capital flows between all of these markets. So you do want to pay attention to it if you're not aware of that. So looking at quickly just an update on S&P 500. As I said, we had this big cup and handle here. This was something I mentioned many times on my Twitter X account. Right. So it came down. We watched this all unfold. I kind of marked to this area, wicked down, and gave people a good scare. And now it's up here, right? So it may come down and back test the 20 and 21 week SMA, and then it may take off again and do new highs, right? And then you have gold. We'll see what happens with that, the stock market, if it does that. You have gold pretty much just broke out into new highs. Everything's looking good. There's a lot of money out there to flow into things like Bitcoin and Caspa right now. So a lot of people will take their gold, which is probably just going to accumulate here and go higher, I would guess. That's how it looks to me. Also a really big cup and handle. Look at this. Sort of. I don't know. It's almost like a cup and another cup, and to me, it's all bullish patterns. It could just easily keep going up. And people who hold gold may want to rotate it into things that are going to get higher returns. Because let's face it, gold is like it did what? 100%. And this is since 2015. It's pretty much nothing compared to, you look at Caspa. Caspa did what? Massive growth, right? Even just in the past, since this low here, it did 400%, 420. Look at that. It's crazy, right? So, you hold certain things to just have some stability and lower your risk, right? But if you're further out on the risk curve, and you get those extraordinary gains potentially. So, yeah, very interesting. How the TradFi markets, gold, precious metals and stuff are shaping out. And a lot of that stuff may flow into Bitcoin and crypto and Caspa. I'm 100% Caspa. I think it's the best bet in the crypto markets. So exciting times. What is Bitcoin going to do next? What's Caspa going to do next? Bitcoin, I think, is going to probably, like I said earlier, it'll maybe accumulate here and then move higher, or it might have a little bit of a pullback. And if you want to get more specific levels, talk about that with me. Like I said, you can come into the Discord channel here. You can get a link here, patreon.com/skibumtrading. And yeah, we'll highlight those levels, all the possibilities. We'll take a look. And then as far as Caspa goes, I'm looking for it just in this blue box, this accumulation range here. I'm hoping that it maintains this level at the very least, and then it just continues higher and gets to some of those capitalizations that Cardano saw, because I think Caspa has the fundamentals to rival anything in the top 10. It's in the XRP Ripple white paper. Charles Hoskinson is a big fan of Jonathan Sampolinsky. And then even Ghost Protocol 2013, Jonathan Sampolinsky was used in Ethereum, right? So you have all of these top 10 projects associated with Caspa, which is pretty big. Like these guys who did all the work on Caspa, Aviv Zohar and Jonathan Sampolinsky, they're like the wrecking crew, to make a music industry reference of crypto, where the wrecking crew made a lot of the music in the 60s and 70s. They were just studio musicians who just wrote the music for these front-facing pop bands back in those days, right? They just wrote the music. These other people played it. So for a long time, these guys, Jonathan Sampolinsky and Aviv Zohar, were writing a lot of this scholarly work, testing these theories that other people used. And it wasn't until November 2021 that they launched Caspa, their own project, and they did it in a way that was pretty amazing, with this rapid emission schedule, where no ASIC miners existed yet to mine it. So that increased the decentralization of it. They allowed for a good year and a half before Bitmain made ASIC miners anyone on their home computers with GPU and CPU could mine it, and this allowed like a low bar to mine it, and allowed the coins to be distributed to just anybody who wanted to mine it on their computer. Before a year and a half later, really expensive Bitmain ASIC miners came out and started getting some of the supply. But by that time, like pretty much 65 or 70% of the total Caspa supply was already out, mined by home casual miners. So that was a really brilliant way to launch. And it was planned and premeditated. So a lot of good things going for Caspa. And I'll leave it at that. Let's keep an eye on Bitcoin. Join my Discord if you want to stay posted on some of the technical analysis as we do it. Yeah, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and keep in touch. Leave any comments, things you'd like to see in the future, and I'll do my best to put some stuff up. So take care and have a great day.